lie began from the very beginning of time, right? And I can ask you one question right now. What does history tell us you about Africa? Who discovered Africa? If you write right now on Google who discovered Africa, you find out that is one white man that he came and discovered Africa. And you can ask yourself that how can you discover a place that already exists? How can you discover a place that people already live in that place? It is impossible, but that's what the history tells us. That's what people believe about Africa, that it was discovered by a white man. This guy, he came and then he went back, he gave a report, and then the next we know is colonialism, because those guys, they sat somewhere to divide Africa like a piece of cake because they discovered it, they own it, it belonged to them. But that is us. We discovered, we're the first people to know. And today you have a lot of people around the world that they think that Africa was discovered by them. Hey, hello everybody, guys. Welcome everybody. I was about to speak Swahili, but just realized that this is One Africa podcast. So welcome everybody. Feel free to let me know in the comment section where are you watching from. That would be really cool to just know where you guys are joining from. It has been a while doing live stream. For those who are new, maybe you haven't been here for a while. We've always been doing live stream a lot. But, recently we kind of stopped a little bit because of what is going on behind the scene here. But it's really good to just come here to reconnect and to talk to everybody out there. So I really appreciate everybody who is joining. For those who are watching live right now, welcome. And for those who will be watching later, welcome as well. Do one thing. You can do me a favor, one thing. Like this stream right now, all right? Or maybe you don't like it. So, okay, let me not force you to like it. If you like it, please, press the like button. And if you can as well, if you would like to share with somebody else, please copy this link and share with somebody else. Because what we're going to be talking about here today is very important for our continent and for our people. And you are going to play a really important part to today's discussion. Okay? What we're going to talk about today here, it's simply the free thoughts. All right? All of us, I hate being inside the box. All right. Let me just say this. When I release a video of BRICS, and I've been going through a lot of comments and all the suggestions and everything, and I just saw this one comment a lot of time that I did not like it, but I was like, okay, it's free thought, so anybody can say whatever they want to say. But I've seen some people accusing me of being paid by the US and being paid by the Westerners, which is, yeah, it's very ridiculous. That when I saw that comment, I really wanted to respond to it, but I stopped myself from doing that because I just thought like, okay, I mean, you're basically inside the box when you think that way, because for a lot of time we are putting people in the box. Like when someone has a different completely idea, like different thoughts or idea from what normal people think or everybody think about, we put them in these small boxes and assume that, okay, you there's no way you can say this. You can only say this because you're paid. You can only say this so we categorize them in this certain kind of strange category that, okay, you're being paid, I'm not gonna listen to you. You can't say this simply because you do not agree with my point. So the best way to do this is that if you do not agree with my opinion and my thoughts, then give me your thoughts and your opinion, right? But do not put me in this box of being paid, because, man, they can't afford to pay me. I've been here for like 4 years and it's a free thoughts place. All right. Nobody can afford to pay me for anything. And I've been accused of that for so long time, being paid and being paid, being paid. Yeah. But let's not limit ourselves that much. All right. I like to think outside the box because I don't want to be in the box from the first place. All right. So let's get out of this box and trying to think critically, like look at the thing and think critically. So for me, as Swahili Nation and One Africa, our vision and our goal is to have one Africa in our generation. Not after 6 years from now, no, in our generation. That is my vision. So my mission and everything has to focus on that. That is what I have to talk about. That is what I have to do. That is what I have to think, to pray, to do. Everything about is towards One Africa. So if there's anything that is standing there in the way that I see that, okay, in any ways that this might jeopardize the unity of Africa in any way, then I will stand and I'll speak about it. It might be good things, it's okay. It might be bad things, it's okay. If I'll stay here and just talk about, colonization and how these people are taking advantage of Africa, all of you might agree with me, right? Because it's a bad thing and we know about it. But what if I talk about BRICS and be like, I think we have to rethink about this. It might be a good institution, but I don't see it doing anything good to our institution or to our unity. And today I'll be able to elaborate different points. And I'm not here alone. I'm here with my brother from South Africa as well. We'll hear his thoughts. As well, we might have another brother as well from South Africa. We'll hear his thoughts as well. But also, I want you guys to have your thoughts as well. All right. You guys will have an opportunity to come and to share your thoughts as well. What do you think about this topic? What we are talking about today? Let's talk about BRICS. All right. So without wasting time, let me just raise a word of prayer and then I'll bring my brother here and we'll start directly. For those who have never seen this before, guys, we always start with prayer and we end with prayer. That's just how we do. And I will raise a word of prayer before beginning, and then I'll invite my brother here and we'll carry on. So for you guys, for whatever points you have, just don't hesitate. You'll have a time. We'll invite you guys in here. Feel free to come in and to share your thoughts as well. Even if you don't want to come, feel free to type in the comment section as we continue with this conversation. Well, God, I thank you for today. I appreciate you that you've given us this opportunity to sit down and to talk about this beautiful continent we love. And we just invite you here that as we navigate this journey through One Africa, we need your strength, we need your wisdom, and we need your presence, because apart from you, there's nothing that we can do. And I pray for this session today in your precious name, Jesus Christ. Amen. 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 All right. So without wasting time, let me bring my brother first in and then we just dive in. We'll start talking about this thing. I'll share my points and I'll share his points as well. My brother, welcome back. It's good to have you. Gamma Cuba.
Hey, Mika. Thank you for the invitation on such a massive platform. It's really incredible to really join you live. And it was such an honor last time when I joined you live. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Gamma Cuba. I'm an entrepreneur, a leader, but as well as a civic activist, right? And so I'm one of the young people here in South Africa who are involved, but mainly maybe from a commercial point of view. I see capital as means of creating active engagement with society. And I really want to apologize to the viewers, your viewers, and some of our friends who've decided to join us live if our network is bad. Our current running government's network is not that good, like they're governing. Nonetheless, I love the topic, I really love the topic that we're speaking about on BRICS. I hope you guide the conversation, and I'm super excited that you've committed that we want to do this once a week. And I'm super glad being part of the Swahili Nation. Don't forget, you owe me Swahili classes every time you are busy speaking here.
Absolutely.
I'm like, I'm converting this Swahili here, brother. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Appreciate, brother. I love you, man. Thank you for coming here and leave everything beside and just have this conversation here with us today. So let us dive in right away. Let's just start by defining BRICS, for those who do not know, because I want this to be really helpful to everyone who is out there, people who maybe never heard about this. And I'll just start by, defining, what is BRIC, and literally just reading to some of the things that I've been, researching on. Because, this BRICS started a long time ago, since 2009. It's not a new thing. Maybe some people might be knowing it right now, but it started way back. And me personally, the day I was recording that video, I didn't just come from nowhere. I had my reason, I had my researches, and I think that there might be a lot of people who do not know. So it's very important to highlight that. So, BRICS, it's an informal group of states comprised of 5 developing economies. The initial addresses was as BRICS economies, and with the addition of South Africa, the forum added the letter S, making it BRICS. So literally, the word that you see, it's actually representing one country and another, like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So those are basically 5 countries in the BRICS. And the purpose of BRICS, one of the main purpose is that it's a commitment towards reforming international financial institutions. It also aimed to find a greater voice for the emerging and developing economies. I want to highlight this again. It also aims to find a greater voice for the emerging and developing economies for better representation in those financial institutions. So that's one of the purposes, but there's so many other purposes: to work with international communities, to keep multilateral trading system. If you want to know that, you can just go on Google and just find there's a different kind of articles that you can read, and you can understand even the BRICS website itself to understand the whole BRICS. What is it? And let me just begin by saying my stand, Gamma, and I'll hear yours. Looking at the very purpose that I just laid right now, it aims to find a greater voice for the emerging and developing economies for better representation in those financial institutions. The feeling that I get here, and the feeling that I had before when I was making that video, is that when you look at these countries that are in here, for example, when you look at China, it's already there. Like it's there. It's actually number 2 after the US, but it's already there. It's doing so well. So when you're finding like the voice for the emerging and developing economies, basically China is not in the picture, because it's not emerging and developing economy, but it's a country that is already there for so many reasons, and for what they have done in just in a short period of time. So, and for me, when I was looking at BRICS, when I was looking at these countries, when I was looking at Brazil, when I was looking at Russia, when I was looking at China and India, and then I saw South Africa, and right now we know that even Ethiopia, they've sent the request to join the BRICS, and I believe a lot of other African countries will come. I don't believe that BRICS is a bad organization or whatsoever. That's not my belief, and I'll not believe that until they prove me otherwise, right? But my concern about BRICS is that it's, for me, I see it as a distraction to the Africa's unity that we are finding and we are sensing. And let me just elaborate this before I let you, Gamma, as well share your opinion. Why I feel it's a distraction, because when you look at the main agendas of BRICS, one of them is to have the BRICS currency, right? And in Africa, we have been having this struggle with the currency for so long, because we have 54 different countries and everybody have their own currency. And currently, we are actually united by foreign currency. You can talk about dollar or euro. That's a currency that I need to change, to exchange my money before I come to South Africa to change to your money. So a big topic for so long time ago, even Gaddafi was here talking about your Africa currency. That's a big topic or idea when it comes to Africa's unity and Pan-Africanism, the whole concept of Pan-Africanism. But then now you have this organization that originally South Africa was not there, because we all know that South Africa, it was added later on. The founder of BRICS, they are actually BRIC. Those are the country that founded BRIC, but later on South Africa was added into that thing. For me, the problem begins from there. For me, that from the very initial point, Africa was not there when BRIC was founded, right? And so if it was they came and they added it later, my problem is that all these countries that we have in BRICS, most of them are strong economy. I was looking at the basically top, top 10, top 20 of the best economies in the world. I think it's this is top 50, yeah, top 50. And then you will see that all the way to all these countries that you have in BRICS, you have the Brazil is number 12. So basically all other countries, you have China is there, number 2, India number 5, and then you have Brazil number 12, no, Russia 11, and then Brazil number 12. And then you're going to find South Africa number 32. 31 is Nigeria, right? You find 32. So so when I was looking at this, I felt like the same thing that Kwame Nkrumah and Nyerere said long time ago. Because I remember, one of the suggestions that J.K. Nyerere had, he said this, that in order for us to fight for the independence, their suggestion, it was, why don't we, us as Africans, unite first as Africa, and then fight for independence together as one Africa. So at that time, Nyerere, he went to Kenya, he went to Uganda, he tried to consult them to join force, but they did not accept. So he went to, finally he went to Zanzibar, and so he agreed with Karume, and they had this union, and they fought for that. And even right now, you find out that in Africa, when you come Tanzania is one of the very few countries that do not have issue with, when it comes to religions or when it comes to ethnicity. It doesn't have that because of the wonderful work that Nyerere did. And his idea was, if we come together as one and fight for independence, it will mean a lot. But then a lot of leaders, they choose to fight independence independently. And then after gaining the independence, then they'll fight for the unity of Africa. And now it has been 60 years plus, we're still fighting for the same thing and hasn't happened. Which I think if we focused on the unity of Africa first, come together and try to fight together, maybe things would have been a lot more different. But we cannot say for sure because we don't see it and we don't have the evidence because we didn't do it. But I feel like that would have been a better way to do it. So if we made that mistake in the past and today we are still reaping, we're still harvesting, we are still seeing the consequences of what we ignored in the past. What we ignored, the way we ignore Kwame Nkrumah and those our leaders who passed before, who they say that, hey, you know what, without unity, there's no future for Africa. Nyerere mentioned that before. And Nkrumah, he said, we must unite. Africa must unite. Today, we are here in this point, and we have BRICS. That's why I'm trying to elaborating why I think this is distraction, because you have BRICS and the concentration is divided. The concentration is no longer in the Africa's unity, but the concentration is in the BRICS. How can I join BRICS? We need to join BRICS because this is the new way that is going to fight all these financial institutions that are there have been undermining us. So we need the second option. We only had one option, but we need another option that will help us to fight that. And I feel like, no, Africa, why are we going to the second option? Why don't we go to our priority, which is Africa's unity? It's good to have these organizations, but why don't we focus on the African currents? Why don't we focus on uniting our people first, becoming as one strong Africa continent, and then maybe consider joining together as Africa to BRICS. Maybe we'll have power by then. You have China, they have more than 1.3 billion population. Okay, you have Russia. These are very strong economy country because basically in Africa, Russia is what supply all the military equipment here in Tanzania, in so many different countries, South Africa and so many other different countries. You have India. India is emerging, is doing pretty well. It's one of the superpowers. It will become a superpower, I believe, after China. And then, okay, you have Brazil. I can't say more about Brazil, but I know, Gamma, you have something about that. And then you have South Africa, which they call is developing country. And now you have even more countries who want to join. And that's my concern. And that's my worry that even I look at people, what they're talking about, I look at everything. everybody who's talking about talking about BRICS. Oh, this is exciting thing. Oh, this is it. This is what we need for Africa. But then my concern is this: that what BRICS is doing, you have China there, you have all these countries that there's a huge competition, between the Western. That's why right now you see there's a lot of noises from the Western countries because of this summit that is happening. And we have seen the president of South Africa. He just spoke like couple he spoke like couple hours ago about about this, that this is just gonna continue because basically they don't want it to happen here. They don't want it to happen. So I kind of feel like you see like China and these countries, they're always there in the competition with the US and all these other organizations that are out there. They're always competing, and us as Africa, we're there at the middle. We're there at the middle, like, okay, now we had this relationship that is not working well for us. Now we're searching for someone else, for the second option that we hope and believe it will help us. We hope and believe it will beat the system that is already there so that we may rescue ourselves from where we are. But I feel like this is not what is going to bring solution to Africa. It's just going to bring more issues, because I'll tell you the truth. We can kick the US, we can kick the European Union today out of Africa. We can kick them away. But when all these other different nations are here and are taking over Africa, we're going to have the same exact problem in 50 years from now. Our kids, they will struggle with the same issues that we're struggling today. But it's not going to be with Americans, it will be with Chinese. And we have already seen a lot of them. We have already seen a lot of videos of our kids being, whipped because they can't speak Chinese. We've seen that. We've seen that in our continent, how our kids, most of countries right now, in our universities, that here in Tanzania, in so many universities in Africa, they're teaching Chinese language in their curriculum, but there's no Igbo language, or there's no Amhara language, or there's no like Zulu. There's no African language that our people are learning, but we're learning their languages. So the influence is already there. The countries continue to be divided. Now you have BRICS. They're coming with BRICS currency, but we are not focusing on what matters a lot to us as African, and that is Africa's unity. Why don't we, us as African, unite first? Come together as one people. Come together, focus on that, focus on Africa's unity, focus on African currency, work on that first before we diverge our focus and we look for another organization to join. And that is my concern. And that's why I say I feel like BRICS is the distraction to Africa's unity, because now the focus is there and not anywhere else, believing that this is the second option to the system that has been humiliating us for a long time, while we can be the only option. While we as African, we can stand as us, coming together first and then look for partnership. I believe even the negotiations will be different once we are united. Right now, if you have just only South Africa there, the negotiations, I don't know how they're going, but basically, if you talk about BRIC currency, I'm afraid that it might be the Chinese money come as a BRIC currency, because that's the money that has so much power in that organization. It's the money that basically is competing right now. I'm afraid that our points, our concern are not really when you look at the influence that China has in Africa, you cannot compare the influence of South Africa or Africa that has in China. Today, our people who are in China, they're being treated as a slave with a lot of racism and all those stuff. But that's not the same way we treat them when they come to Africa, when they're here in Africa. So there is no balance, no matter what it's being said, but there is no balance that we always talk about. It's not there. The way that we are treated out there is not the same way that we treat them in here. And now we have BRICS. We're excited about this, and we are still not focusing on the only one thing important, and that is Africa's unity. Let me just stop there before I say a lot and hear you, my brother. What do you think, and what do you have to contribute? And then we can carry on from there. Oh, you're muted, my brother.
Bro, thank you so much, eh? I think, first of all, can you hear me now?
I can hear you clear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, brother. Hello? I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello? Gamma is having some issues with the internet, but no worries. He'll be here very soon. Let me just do this. I will notice while he's here. So that is I'll just continue to elaborate my points before he comes here, and then later on as well, guys, for any questions and any contribution, don't hesitate. We will invite you as well to give your own opinion about this, and then we'll move on. Yes, Gamma.
Okay. Look, first of all, I want to say it's funny and such a coincidence for two people in two different countries to have a similar view. And so it's not even a matter of believing, it's just for me common sense what you are saying, right? And so I want to maybe emphasize a significant point that you've already highlighted, that first of all, Goldman Sachs is an international investment banking that finances multinationals as well as governments, right? So it founded BRICS in the late 1800 or in the early 1900, and it was not founded by Africans, neither was it founded by Asia, neither was it founded by anybody but by Europe, right? And so the term is, of course, coined by, is of course coined by Jim O'Neill, Jim O'Neill, who then, of course, is this Goldman Sachs researcher. All what they are saying basically is that in 2050, there's emerging economies that will become global economies. And of course, they create a projectile or a projection that they invest towards its development. So it's not independent. It's not like it's happening magically, somewhere. Someone is moving the pieces of the puzzle. And, of course, we can conspiratize to kind of maybe find the discussion where the direction it's going. But I want to say that it's not an African development. And if you can see the first three countries, the relationship of the first three countries that are highlighted here, we are dealing with one, Asiatic countries. This is Brazil. This is India. This is China. The people who are in the Americas, that is Brazil, they connotate their ethno existence to being Asiatic. These are Indians who are in Asia, and so of course these are, the uniqueness of these countries is that they have massive populations, with Brazil with more than 150 million or 200 million people, with Russia with over 200 million people, and India with 1.4 billion people, and then of course with China, another mega population. And then of course in 2010, South Africa was added to the whole conglomerate or the whole discussion. And I agree with you when you say exactly, about South Africa, that Africa was not part of the initial stages in terms of development. It joined later. And so I want to maybe come from setting the background. I want to come maybe from a position of saying, one, we need, different from you, I will use maybe a little bit of profane approach to say maybe Africa has to come out of the mentality of saying, who else do we bend over for that they can screw us? You see what I mean? How can we get to a position? Now we are done. Europe is done abusing us. Europe is done using us. Now let's go for the next big thing, So maybe Brazil, Russia and India will protect us. I think maybe we need to come out of the mentality where we feel and really believe that there is some external source that is going to be coming into Africa to come and help us. And I definitely agree with your sentiment when you say we must create collegiality. Two, we must create, some sort of ethnocentric thinking. And three, we must create relationships that are continental. And I think a country, a country like South Africa being part of BRICS, of course, joining BRICS in 2010, we only join when I maybe kind of, understand the relationship of South Africa and Russia is because as Bantu, we say Russia helped us in the past. And therefore, because Russia has helped us in the past, it is principle in Isintu that we cannot, reject Russia. But South Africa's relationship with India is because South Africa has the second biggest population of Indians outside of India in the world. The Indians in South Africa came because of sugarcane planting, and now they reference themselves as South Africans, but they are Indians. So they're Indian South Africans, the same way we call Americans who are black in America as African Americans. So South Africa now has two things that it's looking for, right? But from a capital point of view, South Africa has China to replace America. And so they have these relationships, right? But ultimately, the dynamics of South Africa are so complicated because all of a sudden South Africa is the diverse box. It's like, a fruit salad of Africa where everyone is here. But, the issue about South Africa is that it has not mastered its own notion of identity complex and recognizing its notion that one, we are African, and secondly, we are black. And we must create ethnocentrism, right? Because you find that in South Africa, a country with 62 million people, 58 million black people are still behind the minority white population. Black people are still behind, other ethnic groups, whether it's the Indians and whatsoever, right? And so South Africa now is struggling and is here in limbo. And I think then it is the responsibility of outer Africans to guide South Africa and not wait for South Africa to be, the radar of who's our next partnership, But ultimately, from a continental point of view, we must establish, an ethnocentric thinking. Ethnocentrism. It's proof that ethnocentrism works. It worked for Europe. It's working for China. It is working for India. Israel, small, just a strip of land, is recognized by Harvard, one of the most successful ethnocentric communities. So black nationalism from a commercial point of view, not from a political totalitarian point of view that is oppressive, that is just to say that in Africa, we must be open to say black first. And black first does not mean white last. Black first does not mean Asians last. Black first does not mean Indians last. It just means black is recognized, forgive my profanity, black is shitty everywhere in the world. Like you mentioned, blacks are treated like nobody's in China. They're treated like nobody's in India. Have you seen how the Indians are treating blacks there? Black is treated like shit in China, in Brazil. The Brazilians still think they're better than us. Look at, for example, our brother in the north. Let me highlight, the Arab issue, the Arab conquest of Africa. Look at our brother at north of Africa. When they see black, they think we're shit people. So I think we need to come out of the mentality of thinking that other races and other ethnic groups have a responsibility to come and help us or make us something. And I agree with the notion of saying we must get to a position where we define ourselves. And, here's a twist. In a position of oppression, the oppressed define freedom as the lifestyle of the oppressor. So this means if the white man, was oppressing the black man is thinking to be free is to live the lifestyle, of the white man. And so all of a sudden, psychologically, this Stockholm syndrome of desiring and wanting the lifestyle and the behavior of your abuser is some sort of a mass hysteria, a continuous psychological thinking that is, formed by trauma, by generational trauma. And so people feel uncomfortable defining themselves outside of the expectations and the lifestyles of an oppressor or of a bigger community. And I agree with you on the notion when you now say Africa must define itself. We mustn't give in to the desire of, wanting a big brother. We mustn't give in to the desire, of wanting our abuser. We mustn't give in to the desire of thinking some other big coalition is going to change our lives. So strategically, the BRICS coalition, I think, we must reject BRICS in my view. We don't need BRICS yet. Maybe we may need BRICS later. But I think maybe we have some ethnocentrism that we must develop from an African context and answer the question of how can we then include other minority groups that are in the African context. Nowhere in any country, think about it. How many Africans are opening businesses in Asia, in China specifically, where the Chinese are working for us, where the Chinese are learning our languages? So these guys want to write a different narrative that we love Africa, inclusive of Russia. How many Russians are working for Africans? So what you are dealing with, a passive form of racism and a passive form of supremacy. If it's not racism, it's supremacy. So once they see black, they think shitty.
Yeah.
Once they think black, they think inferior. Once they think black, they think incompetent. I think we as Africans need to maybe retrace our steps and then rewrite the narrative with an African ink, black ink. And this is not to say we can't partner. Maybe when they now come to discuss with us, they can discuss with us at our terms. And I think it would be a big mistake for us as a continent to think partnering with these small pieces of the world, it will determine who we become. And I think it becomes an advantage for countries like China, for countries like Russia, for countries like Brazil, because all of a sudden these Asiatic enclaves, what they benefit from us is the biggest human resource in the country. For them, it's capitalism. It's free market capitalism. They have access to the biggest human resource in the world. Two, they have access to land. And the Chinese have proved it now and again. And I'm not against any Chinese, partnership. I think Europe has no business telling us who we should partner with. If we like, we can partner with whosoever. So part of the discussion is to say Europe should shut up and not tell us who to partner with. But also part of the discussion is for us to tell ourselves, that it is a commercial relationship that is definitely going to benefit the Asiatic enclaves like China, because they will have access to the youngest educated population that they will underpay. This is how economics work. The bigger economies that have more finances offset the responsibilities to the lesser economies. So this means they will come to our educated and pay us a quarter of what they will pay an average Chinese. An average uneducated Chinese, they will pay an African a quarter of that, so that they can continue to drive things. So they're opening factories in Africa, not because they know that we need factories. They open it because they want to offset responsibilities that they can't afford in doing it. So it's really an economic thinking, So I think we as Africans maybe have to start doing capitalism, in a right way, and actually practice, a free market capitalism, where we want to say, now we're going to work together as a community, but we're going to work at our terms with the global community. And then we're going to maybe galvanize our own human resource, writing our own narrative, and then driving in capital, that is generated locally, maybe with some international partners. These are just rough ideas. It's a discussion. I'm thinking out loud, brother. I don't know what you think.
I love it. I love it. Let me raise three concerns, like just in point, because I had to write it down for just like elaborate more for us to understand where I'm coming from, instead of just sitting there and being like, oh, these guys have been paid. The first one is the dominance of one country. That's the first concern that I have, that the growth of China's economy is tremendous and outweighs the other members' contribution to the world economy. But unfortunately, this makes a union seem like China with its partner, rather than a union that has members with equal powers. So that's the very first concern, that the power of these countries that are in there. I've spoken about the purpose. The purpose that it also aims to find a greater voice for the emerging and developing economies, for better representation in those financial institutions. For this, it feels like another daddy, because developing and emerging economies, China is not that. They don't consider China. It's developed country. That's what they say, the first world countries, right? And we are the third world countries, developing and emerging. So it's kind of like we have these BRICS. It's there. It aims to find a voice, a greater voice for emerging and developing economies, and that is what Africa, for better representation in those financial institutions. So just that the first purpose of it is just sounds very wrong to me. Another concern that I have: lack of mutual economic interest. There has been a decreasing trend of trade happening between the members. But on the other hand, there are reports that the trade between the members and the EU and US is higher. And China trades with the rest of the world is even higher in terms of numbers in comparison within this country. And the last one is competition among themselves, among these different countries that we have. There are markets where the members have equal, almost influence in the market share, such as in clothing field like China, India, and Brazil. In addition, there are military equipment markets where China, Russia, and Brazil sell products. Research and development results has less impact since the countries can re-engineer and create similar technology. So these are just few out of many concerns that that are there. And even when I look at different countries that already apply, let me name for you. Like I say, Ethiopia just applied recently, and we all know that it's like a year ago, Ethiopia, there was a huge tension between Ethiopia and US and the Western countries because of the interference of Ethiopia's matter. So they stood and they say, no more. We don't want you guys to influence our politics. You don't want you guys to interfere anything. Let's stop. And I think that is the main topic, or the main point that I hear from a lot of Africans, that what, Russia and China, they don't really interfere anything. They just come, you agree, they develop you, they don't interfere in your personal matter, in whatever. And what I see, this is what I see. What I see is this, that China and Russia and any other country they sat down and they saw the weakness of European Union and all these Western countries. Why Africa? They're now awakening, and they're like, oh, no, we don't want this. They see the weakness of the relationship that we had with the US, or we had with Europeans. They see those weaknesses and they want to, and that is one thing that they don't show when they come here to Africa. But how sure you are that that's how it will remain, even when when we have a good relationship with them, when they're here already in our country? We have witnessed, even in this summit that was happening in France, that France, they wanted to attend as well. You guys, now France, they want to actually be part of that as well, part of BRICS. Right? Because they see opportunity. I feel like even this summit that Macron, he called all these African presidents to France, he called it prior to BRICS because he wanted to make a point that I'm here, I want to be with you guys, I want to do my part and all this stuff. Like he's kind of like petting them that, okay, you guys, before you try to turn back on us and find someone else, I'm here and I'm ready, I'm willing. I've never, like, this was the first one that you're watching and you feel like, okay, I like what I see, and we truly we share the videos. But again, it has to click something that, no, this is out of fear and out of concern, and now they also want to be part of that. All right, so all of this stuff, all this stuff, what we are trying to say, okay, Gamma, let's clear one thing out, that me and you, did we talk about this before?
Look, I want to say first, I'm shocked that you share the same sentiment as I do. You and I, we did not talk about this. Yeah. And I have not watched your previous video on it, right? And for me,
yes.
For me, I think, for me, it's just common sense to me, right? Because as a one, I'm so determined to really get to a position where we start discussing the personal sovereignty of Africans, right?
Yes.
You were talking about the significance of the global trade, right? China in 2018 owned about 12.4% of the global trade. The EU owned about 14% of the global trade, right? And and we must begin to ask ourselves as a continent with resources, that is rich in land, fertile lands, mineral resources, human resources. What are we exporting versus what we are importing, right?
Absolutely.
And I love something that the president of Ghana, did some years back. He said, we are not exporting any cacao. We are going to produce our own chocolate in Ghana, And so all of a sudden, Europe was shocked. They were consuming so much chocolate. They forgot that the cacao is not produced in their continent, right? And so we must maybe sit down and say, in average, out of everything that the world is consuming, what is Africa producing? And I think, the best thing about free market capitalism, is that no matter what the industry is, if I suggest that my strategy is efficient,
Yeah.
and you come from the position of saying, no, I
Mm.
don't think it can work from Africa,
Mm.
then don't create bureaucracy to block me.
Absolutely.
Let me compete. Don't give me an opportunity. Africa does
Mm-hmm.
not need an opportunity. We are going to take our
Mm-hmm.
chances. You
Oh
hear
yeah.
it? So
Mm-hmm.
the world must not think it's doing us a favor. You are not doing us a
Mm-hmm.
favor. We have
Mm-hmm.
human resource.
Mm-hmm.
We have the
Mm-hmm.
mineral resources.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to take our own chance in
Mm-hmm.
competing with the global West, but as
Yes.
well as the Asiatic enclaves that develop
Mm.
BRICS. I wanna I
Mm.
wanna
Mm.
remind, I wanna repeat this to our listeners. I
Yes.
call the BRICS Asiatic enclaves. Brazil,
Mm.
they
Mm.
recognize themselves as Indians, as Asiatic descent.
Mm.
Russia, the East Europeans also, they are part of
Mm.
that, and then the
Mm.
Indians. So to me,
Mm.
these are Asiatic enclaves. Are you hearing?
Mm.
So these guys, they've now
Mm.
ganged up together,
Mm.
and they are now part of the new producers. And the funny things is
Mm.
that they'll be using our own mineral resources to
Mm.
produce things that they will sell to us at
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
price.
Yeah.
Whereas we could
Yeah.
maybe create factories and
Yeah.
maybe say, okay, what countries could we as stronger economies within an African complex or within an
Yeah.
African ecosystem, what
Yeah.
could we produce? And then
Uh-huh.
which countries could we sell this at? I think
Yeah.
maybe we
Yeah.
should move away from even conversations,
Yeah.
where we start, discussing, topics like should we work with Russia or not? We should start discussing
Yeah.
topics like, for example, we need a one
Mm-hmm.
Africa information institution where we
Absolutely.
aggregate and generate our own data. The
Yeah.
problem starts when data about Africa is
Mm.
determined by
Mm.
Europe, by Asia. They tell us how many people are in our own continent. They tell
Mm.
us how many educated people are in our own continent. They tell us
Mm.
what sicknesses we have, you know,
Mm.
and they
Mm.
tell us how many young people, and they tell
Mm.
us how we will get to the next boom, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
this is maybe
Mm.
part
Mm.
of the problem where
Mm.
data is generated by external sources. And we
Yeah.
don't have our own data centers that are
Mm.
generating and aggregating data to give
Mm.
analysis of what the
Mm.
African population from a continental spectrum looks like, right?
Mm.
So this is
Mm.
my view. I think maybe we
Yeah.
should also, start having that conversation, because once they
Mm.
produce data, they can then direct us. And of course, from
Mm.
a psychoanalysis point of view, we have to do away with, this imposter syndrome to the global community. Like we don't
Mm.
belong, we cannot be powerful. We must delete the imposter syndrome. But secondly, maybe we must also delete the Stockholm syndrome, where we love our abusers, we want to be close to our abusers. Thirdly, we must be open to speaking that,
Yeah.
being black is shitty everywhere in the world. There is nowhere
Mm.
where black is nice, because we have not developed our own victory. I always hear our
Yeah.
brothers trying to associate themselves with the victory, saying, no, we were Egyptians. No, we were black Hebrews. People just want a historic win. Even if we
Yeah.
did not have a historic win, now we can have a future win. We can have a
Absolutely.
progressive win. And I love something you said
Absolutely.
last time. You say, even if we don't move on, but we must move forward. And I think that
Yeah.
is part of Africa's problem. It's a
Mm.
psychosocial issue. They are always waiting for some sort of a more matured individual to save us from the discussion. I think this is
Save it.
unrealistic. It's immature. I think we should
Yeah.
really, really start focusing on saving ourselves and creating
Yeah.
value for ourselves. Data,
Yeah.
we must aggregate data. 2, we must develop our own strategy. 3, we must
Yeah.
determine our own future.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely, brother. This relationship, what you say, I agree with you 1000%, because what is there right now. First of all, this relationship is not balanced. It's not balanced at all. And and I think if let me say this, if really BRIC, I'm saying BRIC without S before South Africa. I don't know I don't know if South Africa is the one that applied for BRIC, or BRIC they actually called South Africa to join. Do you know that, Gamma? If BRIC is what I mean, BRIC they call South Africa to join, or South Africa they actually send the request to join. I don't know, that somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, about that.
Brother, I'm not
'Cause-
so
'cause-
sure.
yeah, because I feel like if you have a good intention, the focus it should have been Africa Union. It shouldn't be like just one country, but it should have been African Union. It should have been like the whole entire continent of Africa, the entire continent of Africa having to have a relationship with all these, superpower countries that we see out there. But the power dynamic right there is not really balanced when you have right now. Let me tell you countries that are applied right now. It's of course Ethiopia, recently Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Algeria, Argentina, Mexico, and Nigeria. All these countries as well have applied. So you kind of feel like, so now one country after another one is coming, and then it's just so there's it's just another form of institution. It could be like another form of G20 or G8. And while we are still not focusing on the most important thing, and that's Africa's union, that should be first. And as one Africa, then we should look for another opportunities like that. And I feel like when we have one Africa, even those opportunities, we're not going to look for them, but they will come after us. They will come to us. Even
Look,
European Union, they'll respect us more. Even the whatever United States, they will look at us differently. Nobody's going to mess up with us because they need us. And in this note, I want to add my brother. I have my brother here as well. Just come here. We wanna hear his thought as well. His Excellence Ezra. And just to say, man, Gamma, we did not plan this before. In fact, just today, like 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, that's when I told him that, hey man, I think the topic it should be this and this and this, and feel free to come and to join. Just 2 hours ago, so it's not like I didn't even know his stand, and I was bringing him here to just have like the raw conversation. The same thing with Ezra here. Ezra, he's a family here in Swahili Nation One Africa, and he's also in South Africa, and we just like to hear his thoughts and what he has in his mind about this thing. His Excellence Ezra, are you there? Welcome, brother.
His Excellency.
Hey, my brother.
How are you, His Excellency?
Man, it has been a minute. It's been a minute. Look at you, man. You're looking good.
Yeah, man. Thank God, man. It's mercy and grace, man.
Are you preparing yourself for BRICS summit? I see you look good as well. It's kind of like you're about to attend the summit.
Yeah, man. I'll be attending there, bro.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I get an invite or
You're
I'll
gonna
go
have to,
there
to
as a
report
media or
for us
something.
direct from there.
Hopefully, that's if they don't postpone it or move it to China. So that's going to be. We'll have to wait and see
Yeah,
whether we it's still continuing.
yeah,
Obviously, there's been a lot of infighting
yeah,
with regards to the Russian president coming here.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, we've seen the pressure from other countries that South Africa should not host the Russian president.
yeah.
And also with this ICC story that they where a criminal charge has been laid against the Russian president.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. So, but yeah, that remains to be seen whether it'll still continue in August.
Yeah,
I think that will be in a month's time. Yeah, that's really
absolutely.
not far
We're
from
there.
now. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I really wanna know, because you have heard our conversation, how we go and everything. And I really by the way, this is Gamma. I don't know if you've seen him before, but this is Gamma right here. Uh
um, His Excellency, welcome. If you're in South Africa, we should meet. Which province are you in?
No, I'm in Gauteng. I'm in Gauteng.
I'm going to be speaking at a boys mentorship program on the 29th of this month. I'm definitely seeing you in Gauteng. Let's set up a meetup. Look at
Yeah.
Mika uniting South Africans.
No
that's
problem. No
amazing.
problem.
This
Let's
Mika, this is what we're talking about. We must organize. We must
Oh yeah,
yes,
mobilize. We
we
must
have to.
unite. That's all that
Uh-huh.
definitely,
matters. Others
Mm-hmm,
must
mm-hmm.
join us when we have joined ourselves.
Absolutely,
definitely,
absolutely.
definitely, definitely.
His Excellence, I'll be coming as well for that meeting. I can't miss that meeting. So I'll be
Yeah,
I'll be coming. I'll be taking my flight to there.
of course, of course. It's long overdue. It's long overdue that
You are
meeting.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His Excellence, I really wanna hear, because His Excellence is full of wisdom, and he always have really he has his own way of saying, and you've been hearing this conversation, and probably you saw the video I created before. I really want to know, what do you think? What is your thought, just in general, about BRIC BRICS and Africa as well?
I think the I think maybe let me sit on the other fence so that they don't say, oh, we like we're not pro BRICS, we don't understand the concept.
Mm,
I think maybe let me sit on the other side of the fence, maybe
mm,
in defense of the concept, not really in
mm,
defense of the concept, but the other side of the concept. Why this thing? Why so many countries are even showing interest in joining BRICS? And
mm,
if you look at the world, I think a lot of countries are sort of tired of being bullied. They feel bullied by the so-called big nations or rich nations, or the
mm,
ones that are controlling most of the economic means. So they are looking for alternatives. If you look at everyone, like why everyone is trading with China, why everyone wants to join BRICS, most of them it's they're trying to find an alternative to the US dominance or the European dominance in terms of economics, more specifically
mm,
economics than the political system. People are looking
mm,
for other ways where they can have other means of making money and also loans. I mean, we've seen China has been really open in giving a lot of countries money. So, and let's look at the dominance of the World Bank, the IMF, and the other institutions that are out there that have been borrowing most of our country's money, and also
mm,
the interest that have been imposed on many nations, and also the economic so-called policies that other nations were forced to uh, uh, um, adopt because of the loans
mm,
they already took with those nations. And also
mm,
some of these countries, they're trying to get an alternative so that they can have a voice and not rely on one source of for example, money if it needs money, and also
mm,
to say some of the things without having to step on somebody who's funding your projects or funding your budget, or even aiding some of your programs in your country. So
yeah.
if you look at most of those countries that want to join, they're looking for an alternative. That's why even with the BRICS, now, I mean, mostly Russia pushing for the agenda of even a BRICS currency. They're trying to they're trying to move away from the dollar dominance. And you can see Saudi Arabia is there. A lot of countries that are showing interest in joining because they're
Mm,
tired of being boxed into this dollar world, and also being bullied in a way indirectly. So the BRICS, if you look at it now, it becomes more attractive because people are thinking, maybe let's move away from this one, and let's open our
mm,
choices. Let's make our options. Let's open ourselves to more options in terms of what we can get and what we can do as countries. So
mm,
now, when it comes to these things, where now BRICS, it's BRICS. I think my brother said it well with regards to how it was formulated, and all that stuff, and even how South Africa came to join, and I'm not sure really, like what I just read quickly was I think China was kind of lured them into joining, but partly it was
mm,
because South Africa, that by then was still the biggest economy in Africa. Also,
mm,
it was seen as a gateway to the African economies and stuff. It wasn't just
mm,
like they just chose one country, but their
yeah.
mission was for Africa. But then they looked at who's the biggest economy then to join
Mm,
BRICS, and which country is more influential in the continent then. Hence,
yeah.
South Africa was lured into joining this group of countries that have so
Mm,
much potential. And I know a
mm,
lot of people. I think you mentioned the population thing. I've had some talks with some people saying most of these countries that are doing well economically right now, it's
yeah.
countries that have big populations, even economic
Mm,
wise. Countries that are really growing with high economic growth, most of them have big populations. Even you look at countries
mm,
like even Ethiopia, it's a country with so much population and a really growing population as well. So that's where now the issue started, where people have now started feeling that no, we need another voice. We've been so much lured into this G20s, the WTO. Those are
mm,
dominated by mostly Europe and the US. So people are looking for other voices that can really come into the world and also say, no, we cannot take this policies. We want to adopt these policies. So that's where now the BRICS comes in, where it is becoming an attractive group to join, because they believe that China also has the financial muscle. We know that India is coming up as well. Brazil is still also coming up, and Russia as well. It's a former Soviet Union. I mean, it used to be a big country. It used to be have a lot of influence in the world, and it has helped so many countries in terms of fighting colonization and stuff. Hence, I think my brother also mentioned that people sometimes associate us as Africans. Really, we always look into who was loyal, who was there for us. We need to align with people that have always helped us, and that's where now the Russia comes in. And if you check, somehow most Africans will side with Russia, regardless of whether Russia is doing something wrong, maybe in this war or not. They will try to side with Russia to say, no, Russia is a friend, Russia, or they'll say we are neutral, but somehow it's kind of open that it's an open secret that, hey, Russia, do your thing. We will not say anything. We will not condemn you.
They even created the picture of black Putin. You've seen that, right? I've shared that before. Yeah.
So yeah, man. I think that's where now the issue starts. Where we can say, for example, the BRICS is coming into that voice that is trying to balance the world, where the world was leaning so much into the West, and it's not going to be something that's going to just happen overnight. I think it's something that's going to take it's going to take a while before we can say BRICS as a force is another. It provides another voice, another alternative. And I hear where you guys are coming from, where in terms of us as a continent, sitting into the table with the clear voice, with really what we really here to do, not just following groups and joining groups for like saying I've been victimized by this one, here's a replacement, or something like, oh, I'm leaving this boyfriend for this one because this one looks attractive now.
So that's the question I want to ask you, His Excellency. The question I want to ask you,
Mika. Mika, it's ridiculous because that's exactly how it looks like, because I am of the view that we must establish independence before we create interdependence. Interdependence. I was speaking with some colleagues of mine, and I was saying, from a socio-historical development of the African worldview, right? Community is significant, right? And however, community comes with an advantage that if, for example, you have a challenge, people can help you, but it comes with a disadvantage, because all of a sudden, if His Excellency is the only one that's working, there's something called black tax. So this means his money belongs to everyone, right? So community has its advantage and its disadvantages. Then I say now, when I was speaking, to in this conversation yesterday with some leaders, I was just in KZN, and I just say to these leaders, maybe we should start integrating the innovation of culture to say at a certain period you can be independent, then at a certain period you can be interdependent. And I think maybe this principle functions just across the board. And maybe we as young Africans, as well as maybe as Africans at large, we must ask the fundamental question of how does independence for Africa look like, And I think, ultimately we have not defined, what continental sovereignty looks like. And I think, this is something we're afraid to do, exactly like his, Excellency is saying, it's a debate, it's a discussion, colleagues, so it's going to be healthy if we have antitheses here and antecedents to the discussion. It's exactly what, His Excellency is saying, we cannot give in to, the guise of saying the first boyfriend failed me, then the next one, he's the next one I'm jumping for, I think it's hypocritical, I think it's cynical. I think it's really not well thought. I think, we are having an immediate challenge, His Excellency. You and me, we are in the same country. We don't even know our own country well enough. South Africans are one of the less traveled Africans in all of Africa. There are less South Africans going out of South Africa, going just to Tanzania. I need to emphasize this: South Africans are less exposed, guys. And second to that, I think South Africans have an opportunity to become, of course, the breadbasket of Africa, but it mustn't be independent of the African narrative. We need to rewrite the African narrative and establish the African narrative. And I love our our Black consciousness leaders. They say we must mobilize, we must organize, and I think I stand on this point. And I say a community that cannot organize and mobilize itself is a community that will be deconstructed by other communities. So I am of the point, and I want to highlight and amplify, we must create ethnocentrism. Two, we must definitely drive this notion of preferential procurement within a continental spectrum, right? We must say Africans first. Nowhere in the world, in Europe, Europeans don't come second. In the Americas, the Americans don't come second. We don't even want to talk about Asia, about China. What is happening in Africa, you will not even see it in India. Indians treat us like, we are the stepchild of God's kingdom. The Chinese, they treat us like, they were born first and we were born like fifth. So the world has some sort of an intelligence hierarchy. It's white people at the top. Is the Chinese below the white people? Is the Indians below the Chinese?
And then you have black.
Then everything else is like, we don't want to touch. Even, when it comes to even setting up relationships, the Chinese guys, it was such a comedy when the other time a Chinese national was part of the governing party structures. It was such a comedy, this thing in South Africa. No one in South Africa, no black, not even South African, no African can become part of the higher echelons of the governing structures of Asia. Germany, it was not up till last year that Germany had its first black official parliamentarian. And it was for social development. So this notion of welfarism, guys, it's disgusting, this notion of welfarism. We must go beyond welfarism and start discussing marriage. Let's discuss marriage, but not a toxic form of marriage. Some sort of meritocratic engagement with society, civility in its nature. We are intelligent people. We have our own ways of doing things. And, let's begin to legislate our own customs. This is customary law at a continental level. In South Africa, we're still driven by Roman Dutch law. People don't even know. In South Africa, this is how stupid, in my view, we are. To our viewers, please don't be offended. I'm an extremist and I use very hard language. Disclaimer. This is how stupid we are. In South Africa, the minority white population cannot talk our languages, guys. We are here 400 years together. In South Africa, you meet white South Africans, not under 100,000 white people can talk our native languages. Now, I heard our brother Mika here. He's saying the Chinese don't speak our language. Do you think the Chinese want to exchange Jingtao for Kandieke? It will not happen, guys. So yindlalo, guys, yindlalo in isiXhosa, yindlalo is just a joke. It's just a joke. It's a child's play. And to even edit, we know that even though this podcast is the biggest in Africa, it's going to become one of the biggest in Africa, our political leaders, they will still join BRICS. We know this thing because we know that it works for their advantage, for their benefit. They have, they have nonchalant desires. They are inferior by nature. They want to be associated with other people. They cannot stand independently and draw a path where there is no path and pioneer change. Our guys are not the Nkurumas. Every time they go to Nkuruma, they don't carry a Nkurumatic spirit. Every time they quote Kenyatta, they don't carry a Kenyatic spirit. They don't even carry the lowest of the African spirit. They don't have an Idi spirit. Even Idi Amin, an oppressor, our current politicians, they just want to be white, these guys. They are not authentic. I've never met. Now they are tired of trying to be white because they know they will never be white. Africans are even bleaching. They are the highest ethnic group that bleaches, are not happy with their own skin tone. They change their hair. They are not happy with their hair. Now they want to be Asiatic. Following thing, our plastic surgeons will be doing our eyes like this. Come a little bit racist now. They'll be doing our eyes. They will go for plastic surgeons to look Chinese. So this is a joke, guys. This is a joke. It's even a joke that we're having this discussion, that after hundreds of years of being oppressed by a different continent, being abused, used, misused, we are still now trying to put ourselves under the wing of someone else. And we know our politicians are going to do, Mika, no matter how many times, the guys who argue with you is because they are inferior. Inferiority is the lack of personal development and identity. They don't know who they are. They don't know whose clans they are. You see this a lot in peri-urban communities where there's black communities. Abantu abazazi babangobani, you ask them what your clan is. They won't even say. But once you go to areas where there are Africans from all lower echelons of society, then they know who they are. They want to define themselves as African. They don't define themselves as black, but they define themselves as, Amguni, Ndingumxhosa, Ndingumzulu, and so on. And I think this is part of the problem, guys. We must delete inferiority from our complexes and create, our own superiority. So we must organize black nationalism. I am of the point, from a continental point of view, guys.
Yeah.
You'll forgive me.
I appreciate your thought. I appreciate your thought. I had a question for His Excellence, because His Excellence, everything you said, I agree with you 1,000% that why BRICS is there, and why a lot of emerging country and all these countries that want to join. It's like we are together in that. And even the importance of our countries to be in, to have different options. I agree with that. Like all of these, like Africa join BRICS. Yes, go ahead and do that. Yeah, do it. But my concern is this: that Africa, or African countries, because it's not even Africa, it's just a few countries, right? Will be taken advantage of, just like what has been happening all the time. Because today in the continent, or if even you go to South Africa, or you go to Ethiopia, or any country, you find Indians, you find Chinese, you find Russians, you find all those people. You find they're always there in our countries, which is not basically the reason why they're here and what they're doing here is different from when you find South African or African in their countries. Right? If you see us in China, in whatever, maybe just working for something, right? Oh, I'm going to take some, business to bring back here, or maybe I'm there in the government office or whatsoever. Like that balance of them and us in all these two different countries is different. And so my point and my concern, and what I've always stated here, and which I want to ask you a question: do you think what is happening right now, it is better than us as Africa, coming together as one and join this organization? Because right now we have one country already there and another country that's still applying for it, and maybe they will be accepted. Oh, do you think what is better for Africa is for us to come together first, to find that identity that you feel like we lost already? We don't have it feels like we don't even know how to be together, to be one, because we see that with African Union, more than 65% is being donated by them, by European Union and all this stuff. Maybe that's the reason why African Union itself as an organization is not part of that. Like, oh, they didn't even go there to ask them that, hey, can you be part of this? Because we are highly influenced by the West. So right now we have these BRICS, and now we see different countries, one country joining, and we see Ethiopia joining, wanting to join, and all these countries that already applied. So I really want to know your thoughts on that. Do you think the way that is happening right now, it's better, or the concern that we do have, that Africa's first, Africa's unit first, and then we can do like this? I want to know your thoughts on that.
I think how I see this thing panning out is a lot of leaders are under pressure to obviously economically advance their countries and stuff. And again, as much as I also wish that it would be an African plan in terms of what us as Africa, what are we bringing to the table? What is our main objectives as Africa? We already know some of the objectives. We already know the things that need to be achieved and things that needs to be done. But then the focus is Africa somehow, it'll look as if it's forever kept busy on other external matters than its own matters.
That's true.
Going back to what you're saying, because
Mm,
and also the division amongst Africa as well. I mean, with all this, so many trade blocks that are out
mm,
there already. I mean, you've got COMESA, you've got all the blocks, and also this thing about the Anglo-Franco countries and
mm.
all those things. They're also still dividing us so much than uniting us as a people. And also what we've already seen with France. France is very strategic. If we had to look at Macron, especially Macron is a very active European leader, and he sees
Mm.
that Africa is drifting away. Africa is that girlfriend that is really losing a favor with France, and France is trying to save itself. This
Yeah.
is not just and if you check how France is so active, Macron is very active everywhere. If you look at
Mm.
how he's going to Russia, he's going to so many places, Africa, he's going to China, he's trying to save his country. His
Yeah.
interest is for the French people. It's not really
Mm.
to say, "Oh, Africa, I love you," and all that stuff. It's
Nope.
obviously as a president, the
Mm.
first interest of that you should be thinking of is your own people and
Mm. Mm.
what you can do for your people. And he can see that Africa is drifting away from them. And Africa
Mm.
is no longer the country where they used to just do a lot of things and then we will just keep quiet. And
Mm.
Africa is finding its voice. I think sometimes we underestimate ourselves so much by thinking Africa is sleeping, Africa is not doing the right things. But Africa
Yeah.
slowly is becoming brave every day. And if you can see some
Absolutely.
of the leaders, if you can see PLO, you can see even, I mean, President Ruto, you can see
Yeah.
even Ramaphosa, President Ramaphosa. Some people,
Exactly.
they all have their flaws, obviously, yes, but we are
Yeah.
starting to see some of the leaders having the bravery to say things that normally they will not say. They'll be all diplomatic and all
Yeah.
apologizing even when they're not supposed to be apologizing for certain things, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing is, it's becoming slow, and it's not one voice. It's that one and that one and that one, and that's where now the
Mm.
loophole comes in, where some of them are afraid to come and speak their minds because there might be a regime change. They might be sponsoring
Yeah.
the opposition to remove you. They might sponsor a rebel group to remove you or bring instability in your country. So some of these things, it's something that is out there that we already know of. But Africa is becoming brave. I think sometimes we should not really always look at the negative. Oh, how bad we are, how quiet we
Yeah.
are, how weak we are, how coward we are, and
Mm.
it will take such voices to say some of these things, and it'll start resonating with more people the more we start speaking and openly, and even such platforms where we can talk as a people instead of just hearing other big platforms or other news outlets
Yeah.
that are out there talking about Africa.
Yeah.
But we need to be the
Yeah.
voice of the voice for our continent, the voice for our generation. Because as I said some time ago, that all the loans, all the things that are being done, decisions that are being made today, they are not going to affect some of these guys who are 70, 80-year old. We'll be
Mm.
paying those loans for 40 years, 50 years, 100 years, whatever loans that our governments are taking. We're going to pay for them, and even our kids are going to pay for them, and maybe
Your
even our kids
Excellency.
will pay for them, you know. So we
Yeah.
Yeah.
need to
Your,
really
your Excellency. Mika. Before you even come in, literally, this is what this is what I was going to. This was what was going into my mind, and I was going to speak on. Is one
Mm.
first of all, it's the notion of the lack of generational momentum and leadership development in an African context. You and me, we live in South Africa. We may romanticize all we can the treacherous and shameful leadership of our country's governing party, right? Unfortunately, we are dealing with a failed and almost failed state. Our entrepreneur of a president is taking presidency as a side hustle. Unlike Macron, who is serious about his own country, of course, France is going under, France currently now is going under siege now. The young people are taking over France as we are talking. It's burning,
Mm.
they're in the police stations, they burn the house of
Mm.
a mayor. So kudos to the young people of France. They are doing well, But think about now, Vision 2060 of the African Union. Guys, 40 years. 40 years of visioning. And the guys who are envisaging this for us are 60 years, 70 years. So they envision 40 years at the age of 60. So they expect to live 100 years, these guys. Somehow, with the
They're passing their
malnutrition Africa.
no, no, they are passing their responsibilities. They don't want to do this. They're leaving it to us, and we ain't even.
You see what I
there.
mean? So
They don't want to do
with the
anything.
malnutrition Africa, with no food banks, with such high, poverty in Africa, these guys are expecting to live 100 years. Guys, let's be realistic. I think Africa needs to, start reconstructing new kind of thinking. And I love something that Mika always drives, Gavism. And I think we need to create African industries. We need to drive black capital into public space. We need to shut our eyes. We need to have one Africa news publication, like a media house, where we can publicize all, and we must curate, guys, whether we are called totalitarians. We must curate the media, what the global West and the global economy and the global community sees and hears about us. But what we have is this welfarism mentality where we have more than 1,000 European, what do you call this, European NGOs in South Africa. What are these NGOs doing here? They say they're here to help us, guys. Guys, we don't need any help now. We must move from handouts to help, guys. Yeah, but we must be open about, speaking directly truth to power with our guys. Our leaders are screwing up, guys. We must not, beautify and romanticize this thing. And thirdly, young people must come out of the mentality that somehow beautifully these guys are going to give us power. Power is not given, power is taken. Young people must position themselves, guys. And when we position ourselves, we must look at an industry. We must go on and take it, guys. Or these guys are going to give it over to their children and to their children's children. And then a nation that is governed by ignorant, power-hungry individuals who are not coming from the bottom is going to oppress us because they don't give a fuck about us, guys. We must be open about this, right? And so maybe we must ask ourselves about the leadership development of Africa more than asking ourselves. So the most urgent question beyond BRICS is generational momentum. The most urgent second question is leadership development. Everyone is complaining how bad is the leadership in Africa. No one is investing towards leadership development in Africa. We have no development of leaders in Africa. Everyone, if you can see now, people who are in these unions and these conversations are not competent and, patriots that are at the forefront. It's the children of the well-connected. People who are at these positions. I wish one time we should invite my friend Nathaniel Mongare. He says something so beautiful. He was the spokesperson of the National Congress. He says something that is so beautiful. He says, if the top does not come down, if we can't get to the top must come down. I say we must go for the populists. We must leave positions. Leadership is not positional. Leave the positions. We don't need to be in positions of party powers. Parties will give you a hat, give you their colors, give you a position. That is worthless. We must go straight to the populists, like the Marcus Garveys who started movements. We must go start movements and begin these conversations in the communities, in the streets of Soweto, in the streets of Gugulet, in the streets of Kailicha, small meetings. Let's create black nationalism, black capitalism, so that we can communicate with other capitalists at a common frequency. We must communicate with the world at a common frequency. Africans don't understand how these things function until we bring them, until we bring these things to them. So if we think we're smart leaders, if we think we can do better, we must begin to question our leaders. We must be open. We must go directly, challenge the status quo. I think we are cowards and we are afraid. We are people of group mentality. We're like people in a bus. When everyone is running out, we all run out, So I think maybe we must reconfigure the kind of thinking. We don't need to have positions. Leadership is non-positional. It's execution. It's getting things done. It's like Mika, you open this big platform. No one, I don't think the Tanzanian government funded you to start this. You have a vision. You want to become the president of Africa. Maybe His Excellency will become the vice president of Africa. I'll just stick with the president of South Africa, guys. I don't want the whole continent. Let's just stick with one thing.
He might want to be president. So me and you, man. See you at the top, His Excellency.
But if we can't get to the top, we must determine it to ourselves and make it our responsibility as young people. If we cannot get to the top must come down. We must crash the whole system, guys. We must crash. And if we can't crash the system, we must crash into the system So we lack vibrancy, we lack voluntarism, we lack aggression, you know. So there are no challenging, there are no challenging thoughts in the public space. There are no young people who want to do aggressive things. There's one politician that I like following here in South Africa, apart from Nabayom Zikwangwa, who's the president of Afripa and the deputy president of the UDM. I like listening to Julius Malema because he's provocative. He said something. He says, to love black is a revolutionary act, because it means you have to love that which is economically and politically defeated. So there's a revolution to love that which is black. You know, so I always listen to this guy because he's controversial. I don't agree with communism. I don't agree with socialism. It has not worked anywhere, in case I'm offending you. You know, meantime, socialism and communism, we've not finally reached a consensus so it works. Let's drive free market capitalism. Let's build, you know, black capital into the public space. Let's build, you know, the biggest middle class in Africa, 800 million people. And then all of a sudden, the African economy will change. Let's put 800 million people into working jobs. Let's think, how can we create an ecosystem, you know, that imbibes the working class of Africa? Let's make sure we create programs where Africans meet Africans. South Africans are less exposed. I speak as a South African, guys. South Africans are less exposed to other Africans. Once we create programs where we visit each other, know each other, share each other's histories and knowledge, all of a sudden our identity increases. And then all of a sudden, you know, we know one another and xenophobia decreases. So these are the urgent questions. BRICS is not even in the topic, guys. It's only in the topics of the bureaucrats, guys. You know, we are like in the French Revolution where we want to be the nobles. We're discussing the issues of the nobles. We are not the nobles. We are the peasants, guys. You know, we must deconstruct the narrative and create new meaning. You'll forgive me, guys. I'm too passionate about this.
No. I love the passion. I love the passion. I thought about this area today, His Excellence. I thought, I was like, man, I don't know even why I'm having this conversation about BRICS, because um my conversation here is supposed to be one Africa, and how can we unite ourselves, how can we deal with these and issues that are happening. But I also understand that I think countries, they begin to apply one after another one because they don't really see seriousness in the Africa's unity. I mean, if there's no any seriousness in pursuing this unity, so each country must strive for themselves, must protect themselves. So they're trying to find a better way, a better platform, a better organization for themselves. And you can't blame, South Africa for joining that. You cannot blame Ethiopia or Nigeria or Algeria or Egypt for applying to be part of, BRICS. You can't blame these single countries because it feels like Africa's unity is failing. So me as a country, I look, how can I survive? Me as a president of South Africa, Ramaphosa, how can I protect my people in my country? Whoever president or prime minister that are there, they're looking for the better of their people. But I remember what William Ruto said, and I shared this speech here a couple of days ago. He said when it was in, I think it was in South African African Parliament, which again I pointed out that Parliament is not really effective. And the reason why it's not effective, because the members of that parliament, they're basically just coming from all the parliaments in Africa. They're coming from the system. Like if you're the member of the parliament here in Tanzania, you'll be appointed maybe by the president or by the leaders to represent Tanzania in the Pan-African, parliament, which is, I feel like it's the biggest mistake, because you have a bunch of politicians who are sitting there and nothing is moving forward. Nobody's being held accountable. It's just there to represent my government. But it shouldn't be like that. You should be there to represent Africans, not to represent your country and your government. No, to represent your people. So President William Ruto was saying even in this meeting, he said, we get nothing done because when you go to these meetings, you have like 54 different presidents and everybody has to speak for 2 minutes. How can you get things done when you go to this? When they were called in United States, not called, they were summoned. They're summoned because if you cannot attend to these meetings, he said, there'll be a consequences. That's what they tell you, that you must come. If you don't come, there'll be a consequences. So actually, it's not voluntary meetings, but you're actually required to be there and must be there, just like little kids. But why are we being so disrespected like this? Because we don't have that one strong voice to stand at one people. So William Ruto was saying that, okay, so what we are deciding is that we'll have a representative body, like few people will go there to represent our agendas, to represent what we want, because you cannot have 54 presidents. They just end up taking pictures and that's it. And that's what exactly the late President Magufuli told PLO Lumumba. He told him that when he became a president, he went to international meetings, just two international meetings, and then he stopped. He never went to anyone else. Because when you go there, you just have a speech that someone wrote for you. You just read that speech, and that's it. You go, you sit, and nothing happens. So he said, no, I ain't going to waste my time to go there. I'll send somebody else to go, but not him to go there. So William Ruto was saying that, like, just last month when he went to South Africa in that Pan-African parliament. So the same ideology, that's what I think. That's how it will work with BRICS. I feel like this thing, it might not work because of where our countries are standing economically, influential wise, in all these ways. That, yeah, it's exciting thing, but in the long run, it's not gonna do anything to us, and it's diverging our focus to something else. But if we focus on our unity and focus on implementing these African currents and everything, and us coming as one people, trying to be part of this, or even them, they want to will have a strong position and strong opinion as well. I feel like we can actually stand by ourselves. It is possible. It is possible to
Yeah.
have partnership with others, but we need to have one strong voice that we can actually save our people and work for ourselves, not just to have the next another good thing that it's going to do nothing to us. I want to hear your thoughts, His Excellency. Your final thoughts. Whatever
I
that you have to
I
share
think
before
I
we
think
close this.
I think the just a bit of maybe coming from another angle when it comes to traveling and stuff about South
Mm,
Africans, and you'll be shocked. A lot of Africans do not travel as much. Do not see a
mm,
lot of Africans who you see maybe in the US going to study and stuff, but a lot of Africans do not travel amongst their own continent. It's not a matter of
mm,
it might be maybe outside the continent, but amongst Africans, when we talk about our African continent, a lot of us do not really travel as much. You'll be shocked. There's people who are in Tanzania who've never even gone to maybe Malawi, which is so close. Just like
yeah.
you will have a lot of people who are here in South Africa who've never gone to Zimbabwe. As much as other people maybe might have come in big numbers in SA, people tend to think maybe South Africans are not traveling. There are South Africans, but maybe not as much. But in terms of the intra travel, you'll be shocked that a lot of people have not really traveled among our continent, amongst our cities. Most people, it's mostly economic that are moving around, but just visiting holiday, it's very few for us, for all of us to. That's why most of us do not really know so much about even each other's countries, and there's also perception sometimes about each other's countries when it comes to certain things and certain things how they are done, because it's a culture shock when they hear certain. They think everything is just normal, it should be treated the way we are in
Mm,
our country, but in a different country, in another country, they also do things in a different way. But the more we can
yeah.
start
Yeah.
doing business, as you guys already said, doing business amongst each other, having a plan, an African plan. I think last year, as we spoke about some of these things, that what can we say unites Africans in terms of we're going to have differences. We are
Yeah.
very, very diverse continent. That's one of the biggest
Mm,
challenges as a continent. And a challenge does
mm,
not mean we have to stop doing work, and we need to make sure that economically Africans can really build confidence, and Africans can stand out and be out there and be counted among the great as we
mm.
are. I mean, we cannot just be great in dancing and music, of which most of our youth need to really gel more into the politics as well. We need to get more in politics. The way they're dancing, they need to be doing much in terms of the politics of leadership, as our brother said,
Mm,
investing so much in leadership and executing and stuff. So I think intra trading, let's look at the common things that really are affecting our continent. And
yeah.
those are the things that should be the pillars of why we need to unite. Because a lot of people will say, oh,
Mm,
you just unite, open the borders. No, it's not like that. But we have to look at what's going to benefit each other when we unite, and when we go to your country, you come to my country. Let's look at those
Yeah.
things. Let's look at what other countries have, their strengths and weaknesses, and where we can close the gap in terms of our weaknesses and our strengths. Where
Mm.
another country is good in tourism, when Tanzania is good in tourism and stuff, can teach a lot of other African countries, can teach Somalia about tourism. They've got a big coastal play. They've got the longest coast in Africa. How can
Yeah.
they maximize tourism in that country? How can they stabilize even Kenya as well? They can teach a lot of people about maybe the other countries. We can share knowledge sharing is very important, and the things that can help us as a continent, where people can like with Europe, you've got those packages where you can do maybe 7 countries. Visiting 7 countries is a package,
Yeah.
including
Yeah.
flights and all that stuff. We need to have such
Mm.
things even in our continent, where you can do such packages where you can travel maybe 4 or 5 countries in East Africa. You can do 4 or 5 countries in Southern Africa, or you can even do South, East, like that. And also with this trade blocks, I think most of them really need to communicate
Mm.
and not just look at themselves only, but they need to think what's out there besides our East African market. What's out there
Mm.
outside the Eastern market? There's still West Africa. There's a lot of things that are in West Africa that are East Africa is doing well. Tourism, I
Mm.
mentioned that East Africa is one of the countries that is doing well in terms of tourism. Southern Africa as well. It's
Mm.
there's other things that are doing well, and there's other things that they're doing well in West Africa that we can also
Yeah.
adapt and share their knowledge, how they're doing it, and how we can share that knowledge and also trade among ourselves. Because I think the main thing is as they say, that money in the black society is moving so quickly before it can go to the next black person, you know.
Mm.
So we need to have those things and those common things that really are affecting us. We all know that we're struggling with electricity. We know that we're struggling with water. We know we're struggling with bad roads. We know we're struggling with leadership. How
Mm.
leadership is not executing what they're supposed to be executing on their roles. And those things are the things that really need to be common and open for discussion and solutions to be put on the table for us to really say, this is what's uniting us. These are our pillars, because in every unity, there has to be pillars. Just like some people might say Africa is copying things, like European Union, for example, how they're doing some of those things. They saw that they are so close to one another. There's so
Mm.
much things they can share, currency, all those things. And I know somebody, I think I saw in the comments saying we are not strong enough yet. We'd rather start than not start and say we are weak. Let's rather start something, because if we do not start, no one is going to start from us, or somebody's going to
Mm.
start and we're going to be buying that idea from them, you know. So let's I think as
Yeah.
Africans we need to start, and this conversation, I think it's just the beginning of other things that we need to talk about regarding the African unity and African development. I think we should be really talking also about African development, which is really
Mm.
something that, because African development is not just infrastructure, because sometimes when development, people just quickly run to infrastructure, but leadership, as our leader here already said, that leadership
Mm.
needs to be nurtured, needs to be, you know, so things like that, leadership, education, all those things are all important, and all those things needs to be done. Unfortunately, not one thing can be done in Africa. All those things needs to be done. And as
Mm.
Africans, let's, as much as busy as our leaders are kept to be busy choosing sides in the world stages, we need
Mm.
to be, us as the people who are on the continent, to continue working, to continue developing ourselves as a continent and as a people,
Mm.
and know that we have so much responsibility to develop ourselves and develop this
Mm.
beautiful continent. So
I
just in
love
short,
that. I love that.
I think there's a lot. For in closing, I can't. I'm trying to juggle around, but I'll just leave it here for now.
No, no, I love that, His Excellence. I love that. If we were able to focus on everything at once, it would have been really good. But it seems like we cannot even focus on a single thing we have, and that's became very, very worrisome. That so how are we gonna move forward from this? I think Gamma is struggling with the internet because it's trying to come back, but then it's not really working. Well, I appreciate so much Carlos Ortiz for the super chat. That means a lot. Thank you very much for that. And doing Gave TV, I appreciate as well for the super chat and for it. you have given. That means a lot to us. I wanna before I close this session, I really want to go through some comments. His
Mm,
Excellence,
mm,
you're looking at the comments, right? If there's any comment that you'd like to highlight or you'd like to reply, if there's anything you see there you'd like to bring here on the session, let me read some of the comments of Carlos Ortiz for the for the out of respect of that super chat that you just gave. Pan Africanism, like Pan Americanism, shows unity. Great discussion, gentlemen. That after the super chat, appreciate that. Um, and I appreciate the team as well, you being there. In the comment section, Reggie, Marie, Cherie. You guys are always there, so I really appreciate for you guys showing in every single time we are here. Yeah, if there's anything that you'd like to highlight, His Excellence, in the comment section, feel free
um,
to go ahead and to highlight as well.
mm.
Because
I'm just going up
yeah,
and just trying to see here.
yeah.
Um,
One thing that we really promote in here, guys, if you guys have never been here, is different opinions, right? You don't have to agree with me, all right? I don't have to agree with you. His Excellence don't have to agree with me or me to agree with him, but we can still have a conversation and we can still speak about our points. That all right, yeah. But at the end of the day, we always come, to the conclusion. Know that all right. So okay, yeah, right, yeah, this. But one thing in common that we all do agree is that Africa's unity is very, very, very important. It's something that Nkuruma he said back then that right now let's do it, and we still say the same thing today. Right now, let's do it, right? And I think things would have been very different if they did back in the past. But we can still, we cannot just stay here and complaining. We still have a part to play, and I think, like His Excellence said, we have to appreciate that our leaders right now. There's this like fire that is coming out of them. Apart from all the mistakes that they might make, but there's this fire coming out of them, standing on this international platform and just speak the truth. And you see that they're representing Africa, regardless of what actions have been taken. But just to talk about it is the big step that most of us we wanted to see it happening, right? So we see that okay, the desire is there, all right, the awakening is there. So for us, we're tapping into that momentum, and that's why Ruto right now, I think, is one of the famous presidents in Africa, because of what he has been saying everywhere he goes. And a lot of people have been saying and criticizing that, oh, but this man, he just talk much, where's the action? It's not something that he can do by himself. That's why he start talking about it. That's something that all the president of Africa must listen and come together and do it. For him, he's already doing his actions just by talking. He's doing action. We have seen a lot of people being killed just by saying. So do not undermine that. And I really hope some of my brothers and sisters from Kenya will really get this, that it's not just about talking, and just the fact that maybe you hate him as your president. Don't expect for me to hate him, because for me, I look at the interests of Africa, and I see him standing for Africa, and I see him constantly talk about that. I'm there to support him. I'm there to support him. If he's gonna come and mess up, that will be another point. But now, uh, I'm even looking forward to have an opportunity to meet up with him and to just have conversation about our people, because youth, we are awakening and we believe in what he says. We agree because we've been talking about that for years. His Excellency is my witness here. So if you find someone who literally say things that we have been saying throughout the time, why not finding up an opportunity, to come together and to bring that to pass? Because we're ready as a people. He's been talking about AU being funded by, European Union and all those stuff, and we have been talking about that. In fact, last year we came with the suggestion. We came with the suggestion that Africans, we can actually fund African Union. If we came with that suggestion that if all of us Africans contribute just $1 to African Union, we don't need that budget. We can contribute. We can donate that money for as long as for them they just need to work for us, not for anybody else. We should be the bosses of African Union. We can do it. And say, hey, use us. We can do that. Our people are ready to contribute. And we did some research. And a lot of it, more than 95% of people who voted on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, they say we are willing to pay to donate for African Union to have African Union passport and to stop receiving all those donation and aids. But we need them to work for us. We need them to be transparent. We need them to achieve all these agendas that they have 2063 today, and we'll give money for it. We're willing. We're ready. The people are willing already because we can do these things by ourselves. But it feels like the desire is not there. It's better. Yeah, that's the thing. If me, I don't know. If me, I was deciding who is going to be the next chairperson of African Union. I'll put that PLO Lumumba right there to see how the shift is gonna happen. So like, but you know what? These people, they always don't get these chances and opportunities. Anyways, guys, yeah, His Excellency, have you seen any comment that you'd like to highlight?
Yes, there's a couple that I saw.
Yes.
I think another thing is just to take out the fear. Like I saw this one from Unusual Era saying Africa always has brilliant individuals. However, they eliminate them through conspiratorial assassination because people as a whole don't stand up on behalf of their freedom fighters. Slavery
Mm.
is. I think regardless of the voices, you can never stop the voices. This thing is out. Even what we're talking about now, it's out there. Whether they try to shut the channel or they try to
Mm.
shut us off or whatever, it's out there. The voices are out there. Some people have already captured this. We rather do something than say no. They're gonna kill us if we talk.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
nothing will ever move. It's like you knowing that there's poverty in your country and you're saying, ah, man, we don't even have. Start something, whatever you have. If it's the land where you need to start there. If it means you have to
Mm-hmm.
sell fruits and veggies just to start something, what you have is
Mm-hmm.
where you need to start. So we will
Mm.
not be paralyzed by being scared of others who are being killed. There are others who survived and they became great leaders because they
Absolutely.
had to stand for the people, they had to stand for the truth, and they had to stand for what they believe in. So
Mm.
that's just something that from my side, I wish we can just let's lay the fears aside. If we're really going to go forward, let's go forward. I
Mm.
like
Mm.
in the Bible how when there was a time when the Jews did a fasting, in the book of
Mm.
Esther, where it says
Mm.
if they did a 3-day fast, they said
Mm.
if we die, we die. If we're
Mm.
gonna fast, we're gonna fast and pray for this. If we die, we die during that fasting is fine, but
Mm.
at least we took a step, unlike
Yeah.
us chickening out and just sitting on the side and saying, "Oh, our leaders are being killed. Oh, our leaders
Mm.
are scared of the Americans, or they're scared of this and this and this." No, we
Yeah.
need to voice out issues if there is issues there, and if others could not handle them, they could not resolve them. That means somebody
Mm.
must resolve them. Eventually, in leadership,
Absolutely.
even if now we say all, and we're not saying. I think sometimes maybe our wise people, our wise fathers and grandfathers who are in leadership, we're not saying we want to kick you out for in case there's that fear that, oh, these young boys, what are they talking about? They want to remove us
Mhm.
from our positions. Do they know
Yeah.
how hard we've worked? We know
Mm.
you've worked so hard for our nations and you've done
Yeah.
great things and also did terrible things as well. That needs to be just
Absolutely.
said straightforward without having to hide anything. But what we're
Mm.
saying as young people is we need to have a voice and we want to be active in the decision making of our countries. And we believe that we also have a role to play. And we also want to absorb your knowledge and we also want to share our knowledge. There's knowledge
Yeah.
that we have that as all leaders you might not have, but we want to share knowledge and we want to build these countries and build this beautiful
Mm.
continent together. It's not an old and new generation where it's a fight of ideas and stuff, but it's a matter of us coming together with the wisdom you guys have as older people and the wisdom the knowledge that we might have in technology and other things that you are struggling with. We can do something for our great continent. So it's about unity after all. It's not about old leadership. This one is not doing
Yeah.
well. This one is a bad leader. We want all leaders. As much as we might highlight other leaders, there's many great
Yeah.
leaders out there. Others are not popular, others are popular, and others might be quiet, but if you meet them in their corners, you might find there's so much
Mm.
wisdom we can draw from them. And we're calling on all
Yeah.
leaders, as Africans, as all of us are leaders. We need to lead by sharing ideas and building this beautiful continent. So it's we're not going to live in fear of being killed just
Yeah.
because others were killed. And another one
Mm.
was which one? I think the one from Reggie when he says
Mm.
Africa will be at her best when she stops looking at the West like it's the standard and model of greatness. That's very
Mm.
true. Once
Mm.
we can see our greatness and our uniqueness, our
Mm.
development should not be Europeans like should not look like Europe, should not look like China, should not look like South America. We should have our
Mm.
own uniqueness, and we have things that other nations can never do. We can
Mm.
sing. I believe Africans can sing better. They can dance better. That's one of
Mm.
the things that is unique. But not saying other nations do not sing and dance is because most of our we've seen more black people dancing and stuff. And I'm not saying it's all about dance and all that, but what I'm saying is
Yeah.
we are a unique people as well. We have something, we have a role to play, and we should not fear other nations because today they may look like they have money, they have good infrastructure, then they're better than us. They are not. They're just people
Mm.
who happen to get their house in order. We need to also get our house in
Oh
order. That's
yeah.
all.
I love that.
That's all.
I love that. I
So yeah, I
love
think
that.
it's just something that some of the highlights, and another one was okay. That's the beard. Yeah, what was the other one?
As you're looking for another one, let me also point out this one. You keep
yeah,
looking for that. The old ones. Someone say here, Nakura Betsy say better to have a basket of currencies than no basket at all with the dollar. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I'll rephrase by saying that my own statement: better to have an African currency than having a basket with other currencies. Yeah, it's better to have our own currency. I would love to have that as well, and I think it's doable. I think it's so. I think the only reason why we don't have African currencies is because of the unit of Africa. We don't have that yet, so we cannot even agree on the little agenda like that. That let's have a single currency for our people. Like if we reach to that point, that's why unity is so crucial for this continent. We have that, we are done. So you can have all these other currencies. It's good, have them, but you have your own currency. That's what we're asking for the Africa's identity. We need a single currency for us, and then let's move on with other stuff. Shalom Eden is saying, where there is no leadership, people will lead themselves. Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you. But one thing that I will shock you is that leadership is not about even leading people. That's why a lot of leaders get it wrong. That we think like in order for you to be a good leader, you need to have people you lead. No. People, they are usually attracted to you. They're attracted towards your talent or towards your gift or towards to whatever you do. For example, William Ruto. He's the president of Kenya, but today all Africans are talking about him. They love this guy. They're like, oh, even me, I call, hey, this guy, he's African president. Of course, he's African, but I meant like the continent's president. I'm attracted to his gift, the gift of the speech he shared, the gift of his words and what he says. I have nothing to do with him person. I don't even know who is this guy. But because of what he says, because of what he portray, you know, I feel myself attracted to him, even though I don't know him. He didn't call me and say that, oh, Mika, you should say this. No. So leadership, it has literally nothing to do with people. But when me as a leader, if I stand still and I do my part, I manage the resources for my people. I make sure that my country is on the better, because that is my job to do, to protect whatever that I need to guide, because it's really difficult to lead people, especially Africans. But when you focus on and that's what even most of the time when you focus on the people, that's when you make a lot of mistakes. That's why you find a lot of dictatorship leadership, dictatorial leadership, that people, they focus on dictating everything on people, what to do and how to do, and this and this and that, and they're losing focus on one important thing, and that is to manage their resources to build, to bring about development to the nation and all this stuff. If you focus on that, it's just like what Magufuli did. He just had to focus on building the country in different areas, and this and this and that, and people, they're just all love. Oh, we see, okay, there's a roads. Oh, we see this airlines. Oh, we see this railways. Oh, we see this boats. Oh, we see this, and people, they're just attracted towards him. The problem is that honesty and good individuals are not interested in power, and they don't have public support. It has been always like that. People have twisted brains. That's so true. And even right now, we believe that there's honest and good individuals. Once they become leaders, they become bad. And we have seen that in some scenarios. But also, we have seen honest and good individuals being leaders and being taken out. You can find, like, Thomas Sankara a long time ago. These are really good individuals, have a really good intention to change their countries and its people, but they didn't last long. So, but I think that we are heading there. Carlos Ortiz say, continue the discussion and repeat unity. It sinks in. We are living through a transition of power shifting. Those with resources are the store of the world and has the power, yet single currency. This is what I think our brother Cuba was saying, that Africa is so powerful. We are, because we have everything, and I feel like that is even the reason why Your Excellency say that it seems like China, they requested South Africa, when they, I mean, they're looking at Africa and what is the strongest country in Africa. So South Africa, became part of it. But my personal assessment, when I look at it, I feel like, not I feel like, there's a potential in Africa. Africa is so powerful. Africa is so rich. Africa has everything, and so Africa is needed to that. He's needed to be part of BRICS, like by hooks and crooks. It has to be part of it. So you see today, these countries, Algeria, Egypt, Ethiopia, don't be surprised when you see that all of them are accepted because they need Africa. Africa is needed by everyone. That's the fact, and it's the truth. Because there's a difference between facts and truth. That's the truth. Let me use that. Africa is needed by everyone. That's why Macron is doing that. Exactly. Russia also, they have Russia Africa Summit. You see,
China,
BRICS. You see
the US.
The US, they had the President Biden, he summoned our leaders. You find UK as well. You find later on India. Okay, we had the Turkey Africa. We had that couple months ago. Because Africa is needed by everyone.
Needed.
I don't know why we're not. Yeah, we need to wake up. We need to look at this and be like, guys, why we are called everywhere? You don't see like other people are called everywhere. Why we're called everywhere? Because they need this piece of Africa. So this is the time to be like, oh, guys, we're actually on the right position of negotiations. We need to come together and realize this and see what is going to happen. Okay, you want us? Because everybody wants this peace. And if we come together, we're going to detect that, okay, what kind of deal do you have?
Definitely, they do.
Yes, we're going we're going to detect this stuff, but I don't know what I don't know what the heck is going on. Like, everybody's calling us. That's the truth, and that's don't be surprised that the position of Africa and BRICS position there, in reality, the truth, it's number one there. That's why it's needed there. But sadly, it's like on the last side. So on the last side, it was called later on after everyone was there. But maybe the agenda was just to get to us. How can we get to Africa? How can we get to these guys? Okay, let's use a different route. Let me just say, this is conspiracy theory. This is just myself. I was just thinking some other time. I was like, man, what if these guys, they actually won? What if all these like Westerners and BRICS, they actually won, but they just, using a different way? What if, like, I was just thinking, like what if? Yes, I know, like, it does not make sense, but what if? Because because it feels like Africa has been working up for the recent years towards, Americans and all this stuff. Have been working up, some of us, but right now you see the, whatever. But at the end of the day, man, don't be surprised when you see China and US. They're also coming kind of like together, because they don't want to lose, and they find the common ground that okay, we are here and we want to, why don't we? Don't be surprised, and that's why Africa. When you look at this, when you see everyone is wanting you, everyone is coming towards you, you need to organize yourself. You need to mobilize yourself. You need to realize what is your power. You need to realize where your power lies on. You need to realize that. You need to come and to hold on to that, to protect yourself. Lumumba said that. And the military bases you see here in Africa is to tell you that if you do not agree with us, we're going to take it by force. That should tell you that. But we need to organize ourselves. Otherwise, man, this Agenda 2063, we ain't going to have Africa anymore. It's going to be like Chinese colony. It'll be another BRICS colony. You never know. But we need to mobilize ourselves. But it feels like these guys, African Union, it feels like, okay, that's not the agenda for now. It's Agenda 2063. So right now, let's just enjoy what we have for now. It's yeah.
But
It's
what you're
excellent.
saying is very important because
Mm,
a lot of everyone needs Africa, and I think
mm.
somehow God has a way of humbling all the nations that have put their pride
Oh
on
yeah.
top to say
Oh yeah.
we are the richest, the greatest nation on earth, things like that,
Yeah.
And Africa, with all its challenges and stuff, and with so many people have taken so much from Africa, and and Africa being, God has a way of making the humble, raising the humble, the one that you least expect. And
Mm,
Africa will be a great continent, whether they like it or not, whether they can manipulate, they can try all the other things, it will fail.
mm,
And we
mm,
speak that into life, that all the plans that are against Africa, all the evil plans that are against Africa will not prevail. And all
mm,
the plans that God wants for this continent will prevail,
mm,
and they will come
mm,
to pass. And we need to, as we are waking, we need to be waking, praying. We need to do everything, as you say, His Excellency. We need to be planning. We need to be praying.
mm,
We are not just gonna do one thing, because I've seen people sometimes mocking Africans to say they're just praying so much and nothing is happening. But it's the dynamics have changed, and it's not that we need to be working. We need to be doing everything that is out there to make and protect this continent, so that this continent, the generation to come, can
mm,
also have the joy of being at home, the joy of saying, when they say Africa, it's not something where somebody, when they say, where are you from? Are you from Africa? Somebody's like, yes, I'm from
mm,
Africa. It's like now you have to kind of draw down, instead of yes, I'm from Africa. Can't you, speak with that joy to say, my continent, my country, So
mm,
those things, I mean, Africa is the darling of the world, whether they like it, whether they can try to say, sometimes it's when somebody has to hide where they're benefiting, just to say, it's like today. I don't know why I've been talking about relationships and so
mm,
much, but
mm,
it's similar to like, when it's, let's say it's a group of guys, right? Let's say we're
mm,
sitting at the corner. I don't know the setup of so many places, but let's say it's a group of guys, right? Sitting at the corner.
mm,
Let's say it's me, Cuba, it's His Excellency. He's sitting.
mm,
Here comes a girl. The girl's
mm,
passing by, you know.
mm,
And as this girl is passing by, because
yeah.
we've had stories about this girl, like, this girl is so loose, she likes men. This girl, every guy just, sometimes,
Mm,
and as was with so many people, because of the
mm,
stigma that is upon that girl, until one time you speak to this girl, you happen to have this opportunity to speak to this girl,
mm,
and you feel like, damn, man, all this nonsense
mm,
I've heard people talking about this person. Once you start
mm,
speaking to people, you start realizing some people are greater than what you hear on the news, because it's somebody telling you about this person. you know.
mm,
So
mm,
it's
mm,
like
mm,
us as an African, as a continent, it's like we've been these people that have been demonized and say, ah, those that poor family, oh, those people are very poor, they can't even speak, they can't do this, you know, and everyone is
mm,
like, oh, they look at us in that way. But until
mm,
some people really speak to us and see that, wow, these people are really great, these people have so much potential, oh, I'm learning something from them, you know. And
mm,
currently, as you can see, that things are changing, you know, the truth is coming out, the lie is falling, you
mm,
know. They say nothing stands like the truth. A lie,
mm.
you can cover a lie for so long, but the truth will forever stand the truth, you know.
Yeah.
The truth will forever be the truth. It will just stand, but a lie will try to cover itself with another lie, but eventually run out of lies. they
Mm,
say they
mm,
say like,
mm,
you know, when somebody who's a liar, they'll lie about this thing and cover
mm,
that other lie with another lie until they say, how but yesterday you told us this. What happened to this, you
mm.
know? So when the
Yeah.
truth will always be the truth in terms of us as a people, we are great people.
Mm,
And it so happened that we are in a journey or in a season or in years where we might not be known as the darling of the people, but we know we're
mm,
still great people, and we are trying to fix ourselves. And we should not really lose hope as Africa to say we are backwards, we are this, oh, our leaders will never change, all those things. We should not lose hope. We are great
mm,
people. We are going through a season. We're trying to fix. We're trying to rectify our mistakes. We're trying to rebuild. We are in rebuilding phases, and we need to understand our season is we are rebuilding, and we need to
mm.
work on rebuilding and uniting ourselves to find ourselves where we need to be. You know. So let's not
Yeah.
beat ourselves so hard and write ourselves off. Just a word of hope for us as a people. You know,
Yeah.
to encourage
Yeah.
us to say we are in a rebuilding
Yeah.
phase. Let's face our rebuilding phase and work until we get this thing going well for us. But anyway, His Excellency, you won't finish this thing. I think we can have another
Hey,
hour, man.
Pastor Ezra, you said it very well, man. You said it very well. I really appreciate you, man, for for coming here today and sharing your wisdom. It's been a moment, it's been a moment. Thank you so much. It's always wonderful to have you here, man. These are kind of conversation we need to dive into, and we need to dig deep, and hopefully, we'll have you back one day, for your sessions. We miss those sessions, but I really love everything that you shared, and you said we always need this balance, and I love having these sessions with you as well, because you bring that incredible balance. You're more like a diplomatic person. Are you a secret service or something? Yes, I think you make a really good
This-
leader. You're kind of guy that you always somewhere there. Like you have this. You talk like Ramaphosa. Is he your daddy? You kind of look alike, by the way.
His Excellency, we love our continent, and
Yeah.
as Cuba was so passionate with
Mm,
the energy there, the militant energy he had.
yeah.
Uh,
Mm,
we should not lose our hope, and we should not lose our strength, and we should have hope in this in ourselves as a people, because no one is going to hope for us if we do not hope for
mm,
this and try to
mm,
make it work and raise the message. I mean, send the message out there, you know. But
mm.
yeah, let's build. The family, I will come back. I wish tomorrow. His Excellency, what's happening tomorrow? I think
Nothing yet.
tomorrow might
Nothing specific.
be it.
Nothing yet. So if there's something you
Let's
got in
let's
your
we'll talk
chest,
something, His Excellency. Maybe
come
maybe
on.
tomorrow we can hopefully I don't go into a load shed here where I stay because that's one of
Yeah.
those things that I've been struggling with power. I think maybe
Yeah.
Cuba might be in a load shed situation, but
Yeah.
it was nice talking to him, and yeah, I will definitely link up with him,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, let's link up and do more. Hopefully tomorrow
Mm,
we can do something, and yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Appreciate my brother. Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate. So yeah. So let me go, and then I'll be ending this session in a while.
Thank you, His Excellency. Thank you, family.
Appreciate. Appreciate my brother. Well, I really hope guys will be having more sessions here. I hope one of the things that I really hope is I really hope one day to have a session here to talk about William Ruto, and I really want to have that session with Kenyans. I really want to have that session with Kenyans because I see what is going on the internet, and I see what is happening here and there, and I would love to have that conversation. I know it's a spicy conversation, and I know there's two strong sides when it comes to Kenya right now because of the previous election. Like the difference between the current president and the opposition party, it was very very little. That tension is still there until today, and that also it has everything to do with what opposition leader he's doing and rallies and all those stuff. So I really wish we could have that conversation with Kenyans. Maybe we can shed some light here. How can we move forward? Even right now, I mean, here in Tanzania, like Ruto is actually trending number one, on Twitter, trending number one because there's very a lot of things happening. So I really want to have that conversation because I think we cannot really afford to divide our people, especially at this time. We cannot afford to divide our people. We need to come together, regardless of what we love or what we support. We need to come together. We need to find that because we cannot afford. Otherwise, we're going to be having leaders. We're going to be trying to move forward and to bring some changes in our countries, but they're not going because of the tensions that is happening. So there's really like guys, the tension that is in Kenya, it's not small, it's huge. And I see that on social media, I see that on my posts that I post, I see on the comments on my TikTok, I see like everywhere. I see it, and I think it's the time to have that conversation. So hopefully we'll have some Kenyans out there who will be willing to come and to have that conversation. It's very important, very 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 important, very very important, very very important. Yeah, very very important. I think it's very 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 important, very very. Anyways, guys, so our conversation today, I really want to appreciate everybody who tuned in here today. Oh, yeah, I'm really excited, and just ending note, I need to set things straight that I'm here for Africa's unity, and our vision is towards one Africa in solidarity of peace and love, and also our mission is to defend the image of Africa, to bring back all the heritages of Africa, and to decolonize the mind through authentic knowledge and to create a bridge for peaceful and one for oneness Africa. To create that bridge. So that's our vision here in Swahili Nation One Africa, and that's what we are trying to do. So everything that we do, videos we share, and conversation that we'll be having, it's aiming towards that. All right, to have that one African our generation. We think is urgent. We think we really need to have it today. Kwame Nkrumah Nyerere and our forefathers, they fought for it long time ago. I mean, 60 years ago. But today we're here. We have this privilege of having media and everything, and we can still carrying that torch onward. So I hope you guys who are following us, I hope you guys who are loving the contents that we're sharing. I hope that we pray about that. I hope we talk about that. I hope we push that every single day. Every single day should be that. Let nothing else take your attention away from Africa's unity. Let nothing, I mean nothing. Nobody, no institution, no leader, no people, no one. Let no one take you away from Africa's oneness, Africa's unity. That should be the first priority of Africa because through Africa's unity, we'll have a single currency. Through Africa's unity, we'll have a free movement of people in our countries. Through Africa's unity, we'll have a common passport. Through Africa's unity, we'll have no issue with visas, as time goes by. Through Africa's unity, we'll have a single phone call throughout the continent. Through Africa's unity, man, a lot of things will change. All right, so I see a lot of advantages more than disadvantage. Are we gonna have struggles? Yes, we'll have. Is it gonna look pretty? No, it's not gonna look pretty. I think it's gonna be very rough. But as long as we have that unity, then man, we can face anything together. That's a beautiful word right there. As long as we are united and we are one, we can fight everything together. We can fight everything together. The enemies of Africa, we can fight them together. The friends of Africa, Africa don't really have friends. Don't get it twisted. Africa never, never, ever had friends. Africa had people, and Africa's having people who want to take something out of Africa. The loans, the aids, the support that you see in Africa, they're not coming for free. Nothing comes for free in Africa. So don't get twisted and think that Africa has friends. Africa don't have friends. Africa never had a friend. The true friend of Africa is Africa herself. The true friend of Africans are Africans themselves. And that has nothing to do with other races, but it has everything to do with Africa's prosperity. Because this continent is one of the blessed continents on earth, yet we feel we are cursed. It's one of the richest continents on earth, yet our people are the poorest people on earth. That's not coincidence. Africa never had friends. Africa don't have friends. As a matter of fact, let me tweet that right now. Okay, some people, they need to hear this again and again and again. I love what Pierre Lumumba said. I look up to the day when past tense and future tense is not going to be used for our continent, but rather present. And basically what he meant is, these days when we talk about that Africa used to be this, I hope one day Africa will be this. No. Why don't we say that Africa is like this right now? Okay, Africa, let me tweet this right now here. Africa never had friends. Africa don't have any friend. Africa never had friends. Africa doesn't have any friends. It's a sad truth, guys. It is a sad truth. Oh, I appreciate, guys. I appreciate. By the way, I'm live on TikTok and on YouTube here, so I appreciate. I see. Wow, I have 3 members on TikTok. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, man, for being part of the team. I never realized that, but I appreciate that. And you sent me a heart 254. I appreciate that. Never thought that I have a member. Let me see here. Oh, you just okay. You know what? I'm gonna accept. Let me talk to you a little bit. 254. You are a member, so let me give you this time. Hey, my member, what's up? How are you? 254 J. Hello, can you hear me? Hey, my brother. Thank you so much for becoming a member, by the way. How are you, man? Yeah. Yes, yes. Man, yeah, 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 indeed. Yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much, brother. Just appreciation. It really means a lot. Today I was talking to somebody. I was talking to one of my mentors, and I was sharing with him something. I was asking him. I was like, "Does it make sense that is it possible to have like I asked like this: Is it possible to feel like you have something bigger than yourself?" And I was referring to the dream or the vision that I have, right, to unite Africa. That I see this vision and I feel like, wow, man, this is like bigger than myself. Like, I don't have money to make that happen. I don't have power to make that happen. I don't have anything to make that happen. Like, I see this vision is bigger than myself. And he told me something it was really like, it was very enlightenment. It enlightened me right away. He said that, oh, actually, when you feel like you have a vision that is bigger than yourself, you have to know that that is God's vision, because God's vision is not something you can handle. That means constantly you're going to go back to him and be like, God, all right, what next? How am I going to do this? And that it will keep you in a good position to stay humble and to keep pursuing him, because you know that I can achieve this on my own. But he say the day you believe that you can achieve, like, you are bigger than the vision, then it's just your own vision. Yeah. So
I was watching President Ruto's address in France a week ago.
Yes, sir.
when talking about the debts and how Africa is being led to being in debt, every country in Africa.
Yeah.
So basically, the way the Western countries are actually dragging Africa into debts
Yeah.
in such a way that we were forcefully made to pay for debt that we do not own.
Yeah. Yeah.
The tight unites and actually the resources, the natural resources we have in Africa and the vast land that we have in Africa
Yeah.
is actually more expensive and more precious than the whole of the West combined.
Mm.
And President Ruto is in power in less than a year.
Yeah.
He has done tremendous work in Africa. From the first work he did was in South Africa,
Mm.
free visa.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Kenya,
Yeah.
open border between Somalia and Kenya.
Yeah.
Then the free visa of Djibouti and was it Djibouti?
Yeah. Yeah. Djibouti. Yeah. Djibouti.
Djibouti.
Yes.
Yeah, Djibouti.
Mm.
So I think the other African leaders are supposed to protect and stand with President Ruto.
Absolutely.
Same time and right now Africa has African Union.
Yeah.
The AU is just a destabilized union. Does not do any function according to me.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Imagine being an independent union that's being controlled by the West. They should actually be up to their task and produce a mechanism that the African countries will use for when it comes to borrowing, when it comes to governing, when it comes to assume a country like right now, Chad.
Yeah.
Has a lot of resource. Instead of the West taking care of those resources, they should come up with a mechanism that the African countries can use such kind of resource that is within the continent and can actually be meant for trade within the Africa. So actually, there are a lot done within Africa.
Yeah.
And the Republic of Africa is supposed to have a very long time ahead to unite Africans.
Yeah.
And come up with. I've been going through the videos and I've been watching almost all the videos I've watched them.
Wow.
Actually, we really like about you.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the support. That means a lot, man. I wouldn't be here, without people like you. So I really appreciate for tapping into that spirit and being a part of those people who are supporting this message. So I really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Someone is with Malema here.
Yeah, I mean, people usually talk about a lot. Let me do this first. Let me end my session here on YouTube because I've been here on a while, and then I will shift for a couple minutes here on TikTok. I'll pay more focus on this because I think I haven't paid attention there. So let me just end this session on YouTube first. And you guys, I mean, if you want, I'll be on TikTok for a couple minutes. So you guys feel free to check me out on TikTok. The same name, Mika Chavala. For YouTube, let me just say this that Nana Dreams says they all want to use Africa to get rich. That's how it has been always. For YouTube, we use the word Swahili Nation, by the way. So if you're familiar with YouTube, for you guys who are watching on TikTok, we are there as well. That's where we are doing this live stream as well. Yeah, Nana Dream, what you say, 100%. You're absolutely right. Africa has always been used. Oh, I was trying to treat here that Africa never had friends. Africa does not have any friend. That's that's the fact. As soon we realize that, then we gonna keep our eyes open, wide open, and we're gonna protect ourselves, realizing that we actually need to stand with ourselves. We need to protect ourselves. That's why I made that video. President Ruto must be protected at all costs, because I believe that nobody wants to like what Ruto he's saying out there. So we need to protect ourselves. We need to be there for each other. We need to stand with our leaders like that, instead of like distancing ourselves from them when they say that. We need to actually get closer to them and shield them, because their safety depends on us. Let's not betray our leaders. I hate when I see comments of people like, oh, this guy must be taken down, this guy. I hate those, regardless of what your leader is doing. I hate that so much. That cannot be the only way. Right? That's how colonizers did to us and to our leaders. They killed them. And today we Africans, we treat each other the same way. Like, as long as you have power, as long as you don't like somebody, as long as someone you feel like is not there representing you, you just want to kill them. No, no. I mean, wait for the time of election and don't vote for that person. It's easy as that. We can't be talking about killing our leaders. That's very messed up mentality. That colonialism, I think it all already. Maybe I should not even blame colonialism. We just messed up, to think that way. You can't be talking about just killing people anyhow. It can't be like that, you know. So yeah, so people here on YouTube, let me just pray a little quick, and then I'll end the session on YouTube, and I'll finish up with TikTok there. Gotta thank you for this wonderful session that we had. We had our brothers here, we had our sisters here, talking a lot about BRICS and what is happening in Africa. And we just appreciate for your presence, and appreciate for your guidance and wisdom, and we appreciate for this vision that you have given us to fight for our people, to unite our people, whether we see it happening or not. But we know something is already happening in the spirit and is going to be manifested physically. And we're going to push until we see that. We thank you, we praise you. In your precious name we pray. Amen. Nana Dreams, thank you so much for the super chat and for the support. That means a lot. I appreciate for those you guys who are supporting here, even there as well, for those who are giving gifts. So thank you guys. YouTube, thank you so much. I'm gonna end right there. If you like this stream, don't hesitate to share with somebody. I love you so much. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be back here with His Excellence Ezra. But whatever the case, thank you family as well for everything you're doing. Reggie, Nana, Marit, Sherry, I thank you guys and I love you so much. You know that deep from my heart to yours. I'll see you